How you doing? This is video number 2 from the demystifying the caged forms and scales. So in video 1 I showed you how to play a chord, for instance a C chord, but going down the neck and playing it with each of the forms of the caged forms. So in this video I want to talk to you about how each one of those forms can be made into a minor chord or a dominant 7th chord. And there's many more, obviously, as you know. But the 3 main types that I like to work on first are major chords, minor chords, and dominant 7th chords. So let's just first of all take a C chord, C position, and let's say we want to make that a minor chord. Well, this is probably one of the hardest ones for everybody because you don't play a minor chord in this position. How do you make a major chord a minor chord? You lower the 3rd. What's the 3rd? Well, any chord has 3 tones, basically. Root, 3rd, 5th. Well, if you have your basic scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, you just label them with numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You take the first note, you skip the 2nd one, you play the 3rd one, you skip the 4th one, you play the 5th one, and you stack them together, and you get yourself a C chord. On the guitar, we have 6 strings. Sometimes we play all 6, sometimes we don't. But in this particular case, you can double some more notes to make it fuller sounding. Instead of just having a 3-note chord, we have a 5-note chord because we doubled the C and we doubled the E. So there you go. Root, 3rd, 5th. To make that chord a minor chord, it's very simple. You take the 3rd of the chord and you lower it by a half step. So it's an E note. We're going to lower it to an E flat. So now you have this. And it's much sadder sounding. The problem is, in this position, we want this note here, which is a C, which is the root, and then the other E flat is going to be here. It's not going to be an open. So this one has some challenges right off the bat. If you're going to play a C minor shape in this position with open chords, just the triad here is going to be your basic option. There's obviously some others, and I'm going to get into them, but we're going to move down the neck now. So let's go to the next form. Well, it's an A form. This is a C chord at the A form. Now, the 3rd of the chord is an E, and I know that that's being played at the 5th fret 2nd string. So I'm going to lower that a half step, and looky there, C minor. What you should notice right off the bat, though, that this little shape looks like an A minor chord in first position. So you would play it like this, but I want you to start to visualize this because you can move it. Look at that. So that's where it came from. The next one would be the G form. So here you go. Now this one gets a little bit tricky because the 3rd's here, you have to lower the 3rd. Well, now you've got, and that has to be there. So you can do a 4-note chord there. Or what I like to do is play this note and play a minor 11 chord. Now if you don't know what that one is, I'm not going to go too deeply into that one. But I like to use this one because it kind of shows you this area of the neck. This is the G. And these are going this direction, and the scale kind of fits right over that. More on that when we get to the scales. The next form would be the E form, and that's major. Well, this one's really easy because if you lower the 3rd, the E's right there, you lift it up, and you have major, and then you have minor. That one's pretty self-explanatory because E, you do that one all the time. Okay. Now, the next one is the D form. And it looks like a major. Well, we want to lower the 3rd. The 3rd is this E right here. We want to make it an E flat, so I have to do this. And lo and behold, guess what you have? That looks like a D minor chord in open position. Look at that. If I did this, which is really silly to hold it that way, again, I'm just demonstrating. This is how you play D minor, one of these 2 shapes here, 3rd finger or 4th finger. But you know that that's the root, and you have to play it there covered with a finger if you're going to move it down the neck, which I just did. So there it is, C minor. Okay, then this is the place I like to, you can demonstrate the next shape. So this was the major, C major, C form at the octave. I lower this third to here. I could play, I gotta move that one down there too, and I'm not gonna do that. What I like to do is throw the G in on top. So you can see that the C and the G and another G is in there. I've lowered the E to an E flat. So here's the first one, major, C form, C chord, C major. I lower the third, and I put the G on top here because I want to have a 4-note chord, and there it is. So that's how you make the minor shapes from the major shape. Now, let's go back to the major shapes, and we want to make a 7th chord shape. Well, we're going to start with a major chord, and when you hear a dominant 7th chord, it's implying that you have a root, 3rd, 5th, and then a 7th. Well, sometimes you can put the octave on that, so you get root, 3rd, 5th, and then octave. Let's say it's C, E, G, C up here. Well, to make a dominant 7th chord, you would lower this C one whole step and play flat 7. If you want to think of it that way. So 1, 3, 5, flat 7. This note would become B flat if you were going to play a C dominant 7 chord. So let me show you the shapes for that. Here's your C. This one's really nice because you can put your B flat right there. Look at that. And you might have played this one. Okay. Well, I want to go back to my C form, which is, I'm sorry, my A form of the C chord, and it's right here. Now, if I lower this octave C, which is right there, go a whole step below that, a flat 7, one whole step below. The B flat was right there, we already learned how to play it, so I'll just lift these two up, and now I've got. But you can also say to yourself, well, that sort of looks like an A7 shape, which it is. If I put this down at the nut and play A7, you know. So again, all these first position chords you should have learned in your Hal Leonard method book at the very, first, when you were 10 years old. They had a lot more meaning down the neck than you might have realized. So there's the 7th chord. Now, if I put this here, and this would be my G form of a C chord, I want to make this a C7 chord. Well, let's remember how we made a G7 in first position. We lowered that a whole step, didn't we? So if I'm up here playing a C chord G form, I need to lower this guy a whole step, and you get this chord. Now, I'm not playing these two down here, I just don't have enough fingers, you see. But I got a 4-note chord right there. The root is either here or it's down here. Another way to visualize this one is, if you've ever played a blues and you would play an A7 chord down in this region, you can even play with the 3rd finger. A7 chord, different fingering there, but check it out. I could see that like this, boom, so that's where that one comes from. Okay, the next one is easy. You've got an E form of a C chord. If I want to make it a 7, I lift up my little finger because that's the octave, and it exposes the B flat note here, one whole step below. And you've done that before, and basic Hal Leonard book. If you lift that up, it's E7. But you probably didn't realize that. There you go. Here. Okay, there's the octave. Here is my major shape. It's a D form. We had D minor. And now, guess what? Back to the major. We want to make it a 7th. Well, this is the octave. That's a C. I want to make it a B flat. I go down a whole step to a B flat. And I keep my E and I keep my G. And now I've got C7. Which is very similar to the D7 form. But remember, the thing that makes it confusing in all these beginner books, and it'd be great if it could be rewritten somehow for you, when you play this chord, they're not going to tell you to play it with 3, 2, 4, because when you're a starter, your 4th finger is very weak. And why would you put this bar here when the nut's there? It just seems very redundant and silly. But it'd be great if we could rewrite all these books and say, look, this is what it is, but immediately tell folks, this is really what you're seeing. You're visualizing this because now you can move this all the way up and down the neck and it has so much more meaning to you. there's 3 different chords you can play right there. There's a lot more than that actually, but just for the first basic. Okay, and then finally we're back home, and that becomes our nice little C7 chord there. Okay, so this was the CAGED, C-A-G-E-D, shapes, but I'm trying to explain that within each shape you have a major and a minor, major, minor, and a 7th chord that you can form right in that position, right from that shape. Now we're going to talk about the scales that go over each one of these chords in the next video. So again, thanks for watching. My name is Doug Edgell from fingersonthefrets.com. Please visit the website. I've got much more material adding all the time. I'm trying to demystify some of this stuff for you. Thanks for watching.